Phil Mickelson is 56 years old. Multiple major championships sit inside his glass trophy case. Millions of dollars fill private bank accounts. Yet, this golf legend cannot walk through the front gates of that safe place he created. Our title says his family threw him out of the house he built. This is not just a regular house. The Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe was a personal fortress. He practiced on this grass for decades. A private condo on that property gave him total control. He owned a piece of it. His name is now off today's guest list. Losing a club membership hurts. Family betrayal destroys you. Amy Mickelson has stood by him through every past scandal. Everyone knows her long history of forgiveness. She always protected the family name. Those doors always stayed open for him. That deep loyalty finally broke. No rival player caused this mess. Real truth came from inside the inner circle. Wealth could not buy a way out of this mistake. A wife will only look the other way so many times. Old excuses stopped working. Time finally ran out. His past excuses stopped working. The exact mistake that pushed his family over the edge is much darker than anyone expected. I think this is the saddest fall in golf. But do you agree his family had no choice? Let me know below and subscribe. Physical locks changed on that exact entrance he paid to install. Security cameras now watch him from outside. Club staff received strict orders to turn him away. To understand how a golf legend became a trespasser at that very property, we have to look at specific events of that final weekend. The Farms Golf Club was not just a place to play. It was a physical fortress built for one man. Phil spent years designing the specific practice greens behind the 9th hole. He moved the sand bunkers himself to match his exact swing needs. He bought the private condo on the edge of the property to avoid driving through the main gates. The walls around his unit blocked the view from the public road. He paid for extra security cameras just to keep reporters away. This place was his ultimate control room. This private fortress was about to become his personal prison. That final weekend started like any other Saturday morning in Rancho Santa Fe. Phil drove his usual route down the private road toward the farms. Morning sun hit the fairways the same way it always did. He parked near the practice green where he had hit thousands of balls over 20 years. Staff members waved at him from the cart barn. Nothing felt different. Nothing looked wrong. Walking into the clubhouse, he grabbed his regular coffee from the bar near the first tee. A few members nodded hello from their usual tables. This was his routine. This was his safe space. The Farms was not just a golf course to him. It was the one place where the LIV controversy, the gambling stories, and the media noise could not reach him. His personal condo sat right on the property line, giving him a key to the back gate that no other member had. Owning that key meant total freedom. He could come and go without answering to anyone. No reporters waiting at the gate, no cameras, no questions about his past choices. Just grass, clubs, and quiet mornings. He walked out to his favorite practice tee with his driver and a small bucket of balls. He usually hit exactly 50 balls to warm up his shoulders. The grounds crew knew to stay far away during this specific hour. A quiet morning was about to end in total disaster. Around mid-morning, Phil headed toward the driving range behind the 9th hole. A young female employee was organizing equipment near the cart station. She worked at the club for about 2 years and always greeted him politely. Most regulars knew her by name. She was well liked by everyone on the grounds. Phil walked over to say hello, just like he had done dozens of times before. Nobody else stood close enough to hear their conversation. The range was mostly empty that early. A few golfers warmed up near the putting green, but they were too far away to notice anything unusual. The cart station sat in a quiet corner behind the maintenance shed, hidden from the main clubhouse windows. She was holding a set of club keys and organizing the battery chargers for the electric carts. Phil stepped into her small work area to ask about a specific wedge he left there the day before. The physical boundary he crossed triggered an immediate club response. What happened in the next few minutes near that cart station would trigger a chain of events that no amount of money could undo. The employee later told a coworker exactly what Phil did. That coworker told a manager. The manager picked up his phone and made one call to the right person. She dropped the keys on the counter and walked straight to the security office. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking. She sat down at the desk and wrote a formal incident report. One single phone call started the entire collapse. The manager dialed a private number. That call went straight to the club's general manager. Within 20 minutes, security walked over to the cart station. They asked the female employee to step into the office. She sat down and wrote a formal incident report. Her hands shook while holding the pen. She detailed exactly what Phil did. He made unwanted physical contact. He crossed a physical boundary that made her feel completely unsafe. This was not a misunderstood joke. This was a clear violation of club policy and basic human respect. The general manager read the report and immediately called the board of directors. He sat in his car, believing his money would fix everything. Phil waited near his golf bag. He expected a quick apology to smooth things over. He had talked his way out of worse situations on the golf course. Money and fame usually fix these problems. But the general manager did not come out to talk. Security simply told Phil to pack his clubs and leave the property immediately. He walked to his car in total silence. He thought the nightmare was over. He believed he could just call his lawyers on Monday and make it go away. He sat in the driver's seat and dialed his sports agent. He told the agent to prepare a large settlement check for the club. He truly believed a financial payout would erase the incident report. Sunday morning brought a completely different reality inside the locker room. Word travels fast in Rancho Santa Fe. By Sunday morning, every member at the farms knew what happened. The whispers started near the first tee. They echoed in the locker room. People who had known Phil for 20 years suddenly avoided his gaze. The sanctuary was gone. His private escape was now a public crime scene. Members who used to ask him for swing tips now walked the other way when they saw his car in the parking lot. The locker room went completely silent whenever he opened his locker. Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka walked past him without making eye contact. These were the guys who took his millions to join LIV Golf. Now, they looked at him like a total stranger. The caddies whispered near the ice machines. They talked about the lewd photo. They talked about the female employee. Phil packed his golf shoes in total silence. He could feel their eyes burning into his back. He used to be the king of that room. Now, he was just a ghost. Later that night, a private party would make everything much worse. But the physical contact with the employee was only the first mistake. The second mistake was far more destructive to his personal life. He needed to clear his head after the club incident. He decided to attend a private gathering at a nearby estate. He thought being around his golf friends would help him relax. He grabbed a bottle of expensive wine and drove to the house. The guest list included several fellow professional golfers and their families. Showing that photo to that specific woman crossed a permanent line. Later that same weekend, Phil attended a private gathering at a nearby estate. The guest list included several fellow professional golfers and their families. Ashley Perez was there. She is the ex-wife of Pat Perez, a well-known player on the tour. Phil was holding a drink and laughing with a small group. He pulled out his phone to show a photo to the guys. The image on the screen was highly explicit and lewd. He showed it directly to Ashley. The laughter in the room stopped instantly. Ashley stared at the screen in pure shock. She immediately stood up, pushed her chair back, and walked out of the room without saying a single word. Pat walked up to Phil and told him to leave the house immediately. Pat did not yell. He just pointed at the front door. The other players in the room stood up and walked away from Phil. Nobody wanted to be standing next to him when Pat kicked him out. Phil grabbed his car keys and walked to his vehicle in the dark. He sat in his car and realized his phone was blowing up with text messages from other tour players. They were all telling him the same thing. They were telling him to fix it before Amy found out. Professional golfers turned their backs, yet the final blow came from his own bedroom. The group went completely silent. Ashley stared at him in pure shock. She immediately stood up and walked out of the room. Pat Perez found out about it an hour later. In the tight-knit world of professional golf, everyone knows everyone. Disrespecting a fellow player's ex-wife in such a vulgar way is unforgivable. The gossip exploded beyond Rancho Santa Fe. It reached the LIV Golf headquarters. It reached the PGA Tour offices. It reached the one person whose opinion mattered most. Text messages started flying between players. Everyone was talking about the lewd photo. News cameras parked outside his actual house by Monday afternoon. The golf world turned its back on him, but the final blow came from inside his own bedroom. By Monday afternoon, the local news stations caught the story. Reporters parked their vans on the street outside his actual residential house. They held microphones toward the driveway and yelled questions at the security guards. Phil stood behind his living room curtains and watched them. His phone kept ringing with calls from sponsors asking for comments. His management team told him to stay inside and not speak to anyone. The isolation inside his own house felt suffocating. He realized the golf community was fully against him. Her lifelong patience finally evaporated the moment she read those text messages. Amy Mickelson saw the text messages. She read the exact details of the photo incident. She also received a phone call from a mutual friend at the farms about the employee incident. For decades, Amy had been the ultimate shield. She protected Phil from the media. She protected him from his own gambling demons. She stood by him when the world demanded his head. She always believed he would eventually grow up. She looked at the phone screen and realized this time was completely different. He disrespected a club employee and a fellow player's family. She did not just ask him to leave, she legally erased his right to return. This time, she did not call a public relations team. She did not ask him to come home and talk. She called their private wealth management firm. Amy controlled a significant portion of their joint assets. She instructed the financial advisors to freeze his personal access to certain accounts. Then, she made a direct call to the board of directors at the farms. She demanded they revoke his membership immediately. She also instructed her real estate team to list his personal condo on the club property for sale. She told the lawyers to draft the eviction papers for his residential house. She took complete control of their financial and physical assets. His personal credit cards stopped working at the gas station on Monday evening. He tried to buy a simple bottle of water, and the machine declined the chip. He had to call his assistant to bring him physical cash. This was the true reality of Amy's power. She did not just change the physical locks, she controlled the digital flow of his daily life. Every time he swiped a plastic card, he was reminded of his new reality. He was completely financially trapped. Legal documents were signed before the sun came up on Tuesday. By Tuesday morning, the legal documents were signed. The condo was officially on the market. Phil's name was permanently removed from the club registry. His keycard was deactivated. The security guards received a new photo of him with strict orders. If he stepped foot on the driveway, they were to call the police. The man who helped design the practice greens was now legally classified as a trespasser. His own wife had built a financial and legal wall around him. The real estate agent put a sign in the yard of the condo he built. The sign said the property was pending. A young couple bought it within 3 days. They moved their furniture into the space where Phil used to watch the sunset over the golf course. They changed the locks on the very same door he installed. His physical footprint was erased from the property in less than a week. Phil now sits in a rented house looking at his own golf clubs. The ultimate betrayal was not just losing the house, it was realizing who held the keys to his exile. Phil packed his clothes into black plastic bags. He loaded his golf clubs into the back of his SUV. He drove away from his residential house while the news cameras filmed him leaving. He is currently staying in a rented property across town. The house is small and the walls are thin. He can hear his neighbors talking through the drywall. There is no privacy, there is no security gate. He has to sleep with the blinds drawn because reporters still drive by the street looking for a photo. He is keeping a very low profile. He recently withdrew from a scheduled LIV golf event. His official statement cited a family health emergency. The golf media repeated that excuse. But the insiders know the real truth. He is not dealing with a sick relative. He is dealing with the complete collapse of his personal life. His wife is living separately. His kids are caught in the middle. Money bought him a new house, but it could not buy back his life. His golf career is effectively over, but the personal consequences are just beginning. Sponsors are staying completely silent. They do not want to be associated with this specific scandal. The gambling debts from his past are nothing compared to this. This is a moral failure that cannot be paid off with a check. Younger players on the tour look at him with pure disgust. The legacy he built over 30 years is crumbling in real time. He is 56 years old. He has no safe place to practice. He has no wife to support him. He looks at his golf bag sitting in the corner of the rented living room. The rental property has a tiny backyard with a broken fence. There is no private practice green. There is no secret cart path. He has to drive 20 minutes just to hit balls at a public driving range. He wears a dark baseball cap and large sunglasses to hide his face from the amateur golfers. He stands in a public hitting bay right next to teenagers learning the game. The ultimate major champion is now hiding in a public golf facility. The irony is painful to watch. LIV golf executives are quietly discussing his contract. They promised him hundreds of millions of dollars to be their global ambassador. Now, he is a massive public relations liability. They cannot put him on television. They cannot feature him in their marketing campaigns. The billions he chased are now tied up in legal battles and frozen bank accounts. He traded his legacy for a massive paycheck, and now he cannot even spend the money. Phil Mickelson chased more money. He chased more freedom. He chased the thrill of the gamble. He left the PGA Tour for billions of dollars in guaranteed cash. He thought he could buy his way out of any consequence. He thought his wealth made him untouchable. But money cannot buy back a wife's respect. Money cannot buy access to a club that banned you. Money cannot fix a reputation destroyed by vulgar choices. He won the financial game, but he lost the only game that actually mattered. He sits in a rented house. He looks at his golf clubs. He cannot go to his favorite place in the world. His own family had to lock the door and throw away the key. This is the true cost of his choices. This is the reality of his life at 56. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the biggest fall in golf history. If you found this story interesting, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more honest golf stories. We will see you in the next video.